We're going to talk about the art of loving consciously. My name is Andy Mabey from the Gnostic Cultural Association of UK and Ireland. And the purpose of giving this talk is to allow us to begin to feel the love which all of us have experienced, but maybe in a more conscious way, a deeper way, or a way which leads us to understand more. Because when we begin to analyse love, it's very difficult to actually talk about it. It's much easier to feel it. But the problem is, there's barriers within us which stop us appreciating the profundities of love. So, I'm trying to get this to work. We can begin by saying, okay, so what is love? Because we, as a humanity, have a lot of concepts about what love is. In itself, when we start to study this internally, through meditation or whatever, or we might maybe read some books, we discover that actually love just is. Pure love just is. And it's infinite tenderness, and it's felt in the depths of our heart. It's a delightful experience, we know that. We've all experienced it. And you can say, well, actually, it's like a fire within. And as you can see, these are just words to try and express something which is almost unexpressible, because it's a feeling rather than a concept. But we have lots of concepts. There's loads of lovely pictures of what love is all over the internet. Is it to do with hearts? Is it to do with swans? Is it to do with strange purple trees? It's all very nice. Makes us feel good, makes us feel warm inside. But what actually is it? Because there's one thing to appreciate what love is. It's another thing to be in love. Because once we're in love, it's obvious, it's so clear, it's so real. We feel it, it permeates through us and radiates from us, because something is acting inside us. So you'll see in this presentation many images of concepts of what love is, because that's the only way we can express it through the presentation. However, I would ask that we try and feel it, to try and be in the heart, be in this moment, feel ourselves, be present here, now, so we can start to appreciate what this love is. Because, and it might sound very grand, but great souls know how to love because it's related to consciousness. So there's a relationship between consciousness and love, which we'll come on to later in more detail. And conscious love is at a higher, in inverted commas, level than straightforward, what people might say, oh, I love that. I love these beings. I love this type of jam. You know, there must be different levels of love, and ultimately, pure love between two people or between two aspects is what we're aiming for, what we're driving for, and that is based on consciousness, which we'll come on to. It's only when we're really in love we actually experience the feeling of being in love. Now, that might sound obvious and logical, but that's actually the reality. Each of us here know what it's like to be loved. Each of us here know what it's like to love somebody else. But to express that is very difficult with words. Hence all the poetry and the songs and the art that flows from human to human to try and express that love. Now, there is many different aspects or types of love we can talk about, which we're going to do now. Because there's obviously love between the couple, there's love of life, love of the family, of nature, but there's also love of the football team, or music, or of the divine. These are just examples, And again, these images of why is two people stood under a tree looking at leaves falling, love? There's something that emanates from them being happy in that moment. Love is to do with happiness, okay, but how do we describe it? How can we make it a discussion point? We can't. We have to actually live the love to discover what it is. We know this, it's obvious. So there's love in the couple. There's some examples of couples who are in love. Or one would assume they're in love from the photographs, but it doesn't necessarily go. And obviously love can be any age, any people, any couple. They're in love. So here's another example. These people are in love. And that's the classic imagery of what we in this culture would say is all to do with love, getting married. Matrimony. So matrimony is linked to this idea or concept of what we have is love. But those two people there could be just models. They could be getting paid to stand there with no love at all. But we have something inside us which decides or takes the view that love is being expressed here. These two look jolly happy. That looks very real, doesn't it, those two? We can perceive something in there because something in the human makeup is allowing us to see that there is love between these two. So that's love in the couple. Then we have love in... That didn't work. My thumb didn't work. Hold on. Love in the family. So even eating spaghetti in a strange way involves love. There is love there. The mother is looking after her family. She looks a little bit stressed. Running into the sea is to do with togetherness, is to do with love in that way. And of course, one would imagine that these two are in the family of that lady in the middle, expressing love. I think it's in more people more families in love. Often love is related to eating together. I don't know why that would be. But it's often, any culture across the world, when we're together as a community or a family, eating, sharing together, love is being expressed. Happiness is being expressed. Then, of course, there's love of life. So again, why is it these sorts of pictures you can find on the internet are representing something which we can't really talk about, we can only experience, and yet all of us can relate to these pictures? Jumping in the air, what's that to do with love? People do that in the Olympics. That guy probably, he could well be meditating about love. You don't know. This is obviously false, but it looks really good. A bit more on life and love in the next slide. Any comments about the carrot and the banana? Okay, but this is love. This is the love of life. And then we have the love of nature. Okay? Whether it be of love of nature in the world or whether it's of literally the earth itself. Love is very directly linked to, one would say, higher manifestations of consciousness. For example, comprehension. For example, adoration, which we'll come on to later. Or appreciation of nature, deep appreciation. And then, of course, moving on that list we had earlier, I'm not going to put a football team up there and say, isn't that lovely? We're going to talk about the divine instead. Love of the divine has been represented in art over the centuries, over millennia. Whether it's in a cave painting or whether it's in a modern work, these are all obviously classical. I think, are these Renaissance pictures? This one? Yeah. And that's William Blake. I'm not sure who painted the far left one is. And then obviously there's Aphrodite on her surfboard. So, the feeling of love, we can say, is the effusion of energetic emanations that spring from the depths of our consciousness, because we must recall, and we'll come back to it later in more detail, consciousness is who or what we really are. We are not concepts. There's something inside us which you could say is divine, is permanent, is real. It's us, the core of us, our essence. Okay? And from there, emanations stimulate endocrine glands within us. Is that how I pronounce endocrine? Yeah, I'm a biologist at that. Producing millions of different hormones, which then enter the bloodstream and flood the entire organism with vitality. And that vitality is beginning to move us towards the feeling of love. Love is a biological thing, a physiological thing in that respect. And again, all of us have experienced that, but to actually try and describe it now without actually being in that mode, if you will, is very difficult. Because there's loads of words which kind of mean love, but don't actually really show us what love is. And at the same time, love in itself is just a word. Love as a real thing, as in an aspect of the universe, is a force. Love is a force that emanates from the depths of our consciousness, as I say, and it comes from what we would call, in Gnosis, our inner being, our inner guru, our intimate. The intimate part of who we are is that piece of us which radiates love through the consciousness, and then through our physical, and then out into the universe. Again, we'll come back to that later. So the ancient Greeks defined many, many different aspects of love. The ancient Greeks actually had about 30 different words which related to love. Different types or grades of love. And we're just going to quickly look at 7 of those particular topics or aspects which they refer to, because it helps us understand love now. Can anybody here speak Greek? Okay, so please excuse my pronunciation because I can get this. So the first one, agape, the love of humanity. Love for our fellow human beings makes us feel connected to people that we don't even know. But it's based on our shared experience with those other people. It's putting ourselves behind others. It's putting other people first. It's helping others through our behaviour. So when we allow someone to get in front of us because they're in a rush at the airport because they need to show their visa to the passport control, otherwise they'll miss the plane, we let that person go. Because there's something in us which is sharing that moment with that person. We're allowing love to manifest in that moment, even a small amount, so that we give something to that person based on our shared experience, which is agape, that aspect of love. Agape was translated into Latin many, many years back, millennia back, as caritas. And caritas became our word, charity. In English, sorry. Well, in Spanish, what would it be? Caridad, very similar. Very similar. The next one you can see here is storge, love of the family. I'm sorry if it's a bit blurry compared to the others. Basically, what we're talking about here is the love parents naturally have for their children. A love of the member of the family, whether it's an auntie or an uncle or a cousin. Love for each other. It could be love for our dearest friends as well. The love that a parent has for a child. It's unconditional and it accepts the flaws or faults of other people and ultimately drives us, therefore, to forgive. So, forgiveness and love are very directly linked. So we're going to talk about love only today. We're not going to talk about forgiveness. It's not a subject. It's a commitment. We, in loving someone in the family, storge, we are making ourselves and those people we love feel secure, comfortable, and safe within that, within the arms, basically, within the network of the cuddle of the family. There's a good example there at the back. Pragma is love which endures. Love between, for example, a married couple, which lasts many, many years, a long period of time. It endures in sickness and in ill health, for example. And to achieve pragma, the couple, in this case, need to have deep understanding of each other and the love they have between them. That enables, as I say in this case, a couple to have long marriages. It's about compromises. It's about working together to promote the love, to enable it to flourish between the couple, in this case, in this example. And it requires patience and tolerance. You okay with those three? The next one, philautia, I think, is to do with self-respect. We're not talking about narcissism or vanity here. We're talking about self-respect, so that if we begin to look after and care for ourselves, we're able to look after and care for other people. Okay? A healthier version enhances our capacity to love other people. We're not talking about self-obsessed narcissism. We're talking about cherishing what we have, who we are, what we are, why we're here, so that we can then help other people. This one, philia, is the shared experience. As you can see there, I don't know whether that's a team or something facing away. I couldn't tell you. But what we're talking about here is where people in a group are brought together by camaraderie, by friendship. It's developed, for example, between brothers who have been, I know it's not a great example, it doesn't relate, but people who are at war together, people who have been soldiers together, fighting together. But you can say more relevant to us, we can say it's more to do with working together for a project, to solve a problem, to enable an aspect to manifest, a project, a topic, a shared goal. So these could be co-workers. This could be a team of people in the Olympics right now, the tobogganists or whatever, working together over many years to get the medal at the end. that promotes a shared love between the people. Ludus is, as you can see there, playful affection, where it could be between adults or friends or children or whatever it may be. But it's about playful love. It's to do with the affection between people or between children or whatever combination. And it's really the first place, I suppose you could say, where people start to test out their boundaries with love between couples or groups. And that would lead that person or those persons to the final aspect we're going to talk about today, the seventh aspect, which is eros, which is the romantic and erotic love between the couple. That involves or has with it a powerful magnetism, and it starts as a romance and an attraction, what we might call the classic love. And here we are on Valentine's Day, where this love is also celebrated in, I don't know if it's across the entire world, but definitely in the Western cultures. Everyone does a bit of Valentine's Day romanticism. And here over there on the table there's some roses, which are also the classic expression of Valentine's Day, the love, the rose, the heart, etc., etc. Again, they're expressions of the concept of love, not love in itself, obviously. Often it involves chocolates. I can vouch for that. Yeah, it's great. So, other aspects, going back to where we were earlier, other aspects of love that may manifest from a person to others include, as a couple of examples, altruism and adoration. These are aspects of love in action, because love in itself is very dynamic, very active, not passive. Although it can be passive, it's not generally passive. What we're talking about here is doing something positive for other people, the altruism, and then having respect for, coming back to what we mentioned earlier, the divine, respect for the divine, that adoration, that we can adore within a couple as well. Because, going back to where we were earlier, if every one of us has our own internal being, own internal aspect, each one of us can adore the others. Again, hopefully we'll come on to that later. So love in itself is a force. It's extremely divine. It's pure, and it is where blissfulness, if that's a real word, begins. Again, blissfulness, we can't say what that is, it just is. We have to experience it to know what it is. But it's related to love. Love is related directly to the feminine aspect of God, as in another example. Venus, we've already seen, Aphrodite. The femininity is reflected in maternity. And that maternity comes with love, or goes via love, as does paternity. Love begins as a ray of empathy between two people, sustained with affection and synthesized with adoration. Yeah, so we get big heavy words now. But basically, love takes us on the journey so that we can appreciate the other person or nature, whatever those other examples were. We can appreciate it much more objectively, truly. Oh, I'm truly in love with you. But are you really truly in love? What does it actually mean to be in love? In the couple, so the classic imagery all looks very nice. To achieve love, there must be, or people say, oh, there must be a chemistry. There must be a chemistry between those two people. What does that mean? Chemistry. Chemistry is about chemicals in a laboratory. Is that what we're talking here? No, we're talking about something beyond the physical. This force of love is acting in that couple. And there is a key. Here's the joke. There is a key to enable us to reach that feeling or active chemistry within a couple. Because love begins as a flash of delightful friendliness, substantiated with infinite tenderness, and then brings us to that other point we just mentioned, to supreme adoration of the other. We know that with just a flower, hence Valentine's Day and roses, or a scented letter, how excited we get when we get a scented letter. Or even a whisper, or even a text message from somebody we love. How does that make us feel? Our heart opens, it flutters, it flutters. How can a heart flutter? It doesn't make sense, but it feels like that. It's real within us. And it promotes or helps to achieve within us a tremendous restlessness. I must see that person, I must talk to that person, I must help that person. And between the couple, there's a sensuality which starts to develop. Only those deeply in love know that which is called love. We have to experience it to know it. And that is the sort of core of gnosis. Because gnosis in itself means knowledge of the heart, direct experience of the reality ourselves. No words, no concepts, no mind. It's to do with consciousness based in the heart. But we'll come back to that later. A token, we might receive a token or a photograph from somebody we love. You know, whether it's Auntie Flo or our teacher from a school. You get anything from your teacher? It allows us to feel love in those moments, even though that person can be very far away, the other side of the world. People have romances and they're in Australia, and other people are, the other half is here somewhere in this country. In a couple, for love to exist, the man and the woman must adore each other in 3 spheres: the thoughts, the feelings, and the will. Those 3 areas must vibrate with the same affinity in those regions between the 2 people. So, I think some classic pictures of people who are in love now. When, I don't know if you know this analogy, kind of related to what the affinity aspect. There's an experiment which scientists do. They have 2 pianos in the same room. Tell me if I'm wrong. Okay. And 2 identical pianos. And they press middle C on one piano, and the corresponding cable, is that right word? The cable in the other piano starts to vibrate. That's a fact. That's a scientific fact. And that is vibrational affinity. Yes, I'm getting a lot. So, that's brilliant. But what we're saying here is that the same thing can happen via love between 2 people, no matter how far away they are. Vibrational affinity between people. The vibration we're talking about is love. Love is a higher vibration. It's easy to confuse passion and desire with love. But we need to be clear that passion is opposite to love. It's completely the other side of the spectrum. those who are really in love are capable of giving, and sounds a bit strong, but the last drop of blood for the one they adore. They will give everything for the other person.